and a first-class weather overall. But that's a solution. One of the other problems when it comes to new development, and there's no new development for poor folk. If you look around this city, with all these crane, I'll call it Crane City, with all the cranes that are going up for hotels and for all this new development, but there's no revenue, or should we say, crumbs from the master's table that could trickle down in 2% or 3% that would help support new development for poor folk. This real estate here in the city is booming, and so the greed is preventing our new mayor, who was commissioner over the homeless for a spell before she became our mayor. I've shared with her my concerns, but they would spend so many $1 million on a sidewalk because of a child who mother put a little posting on it saying we need better sidewalks. They jumped right on that. When they talk about better schools, and even a superintendent, that they're willing to pay from $160,000 to $380,000 for a new superintendent. All these things are part of that rezoning and all things, but the solution still has to be for the least of these, because that's the Christian way, and in God we trust. And so the poor, yes, will be with us always, but we need to look at the poor and bring them along with us. The Section 8 is the slumlords. They're borrowing money and fixing up their places. Yeah, I think it was a place called Howard Garden. They advertised everybody's lease was not being renewed. That's going on all over the city too, because they're redoing their properties so where they can get that market value rent. And then you have like the Barnes funds, where they're inviting folks into the city, which is 55,000 area median income. You're talking about gentrification, the haves and the have less, not the have-nots. And so the solution to some of these problems are to be inclusive. You know, they call it integration now, you know, because of the folks who's moving back into town. But it's still a gentrification.
It leaves a large number of individuals who are not as wealthy or
fortunate,
as financially able,
yes,
and even Section 8, which at one time was able to sort of provide funds for individuals to rent out
support that,
these,
yes, sir.
But now
they're not renting to them.
And I would imagine has the money in Section 8 gone up any in terms of
the money is available, but and they're giving out vouchers left and right, but people are saying, I mean, you know, they come to me all the time, where can I, do you know where I can find a place to live? I'm saying, I'm sorry, that's a
nobody
problem.
Can afford, none of the owners.
Well, they're not renting to Section 8 folks.
Section 8 folks.
They're renting to these folks, and they're being compensated 20% by the Barnes funds with the have less. You know, but what about the have-nots, the $9,000, $18,000 a year incomes? They can't afford this type of rent, you know, and they're being forced out too, by the way.
Pastor Walker, speak to that.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about the poor, and people need to understand, we're not talking about just people just broke, don't have any money, you know, and we talk about affordable housing, you know, housing that people can afford. You know, you got a lot of people that are living right at the poverty line level or just above it or slightly below it, and people that are working jobs, Dr. Haney, and still cannot afford, you know, the high cost of rentals that's going, you know, as it's consistently and continuously begins to escalate, and people just can't afford it, so they're being pushed out. And then at the same time, you know, wages are not increasing, affordable housing developments are not going up, but every time you look around, there are more and more and more of the high dollar rentals. And what's going to happen when you get to a point where you got all this property out here, all these rental places out here, and you can't rent them because the people here are not making the kinds of monies that's needed to rent these places. And then like I said, you're pushing a lot of people out into the streets, and they're becoming homeless, and they're working homeless. They got jobs. They're not drug addicted. They're not having some of the typical issues that people have when they're homeless. They're just people that can no longer afford to live where they're living. Even, you know, when you don't even consider Section 8, if you just take Section 8 off the table, you got somebody that's working and been paying their rentals and stuff like that, and not on Section 8 because they had a job that's paying enough money to be able to afford the places where they've been renting in the neighborhoods where they've been accustomed to living in. Now, with the changes in these neighborhoods and the high cost of rents in these neighborhoods, and you got so many people who are buying houses now, as opposed to people buying them and flipping them in terms of selling them, people are buying them, renovating them, and turn them into rental properties because the high cost of rentals around here. So people are able to make money. Of course, you know, you pay for your property that you bought, you know, through the rentals and stuff like that. So it's a win-win situation for everybody except those that's not making the money. Yeah,
who depend on being able to live in those houses.
Absolutely. And something else he said that was significant, and that was with Casey, moving out of Casey into Casey, because when they tore down John Henry Hale and the other projects in East Nashville and Preston Taylor and stuff like that, people had to move out. And then the criteria to get back in, so many of them couldn't move back in and had been living there for years. So then they create these neighborhoods way out, Antioch, Cane Ridge area, all the way down in there. You go around these streets, no street lights, and they put them in these little isolated communities out there, away from everything. If you don't have transportation, you don't get out of there because there are no bus, no bus services out there. So, you know, it's almost like the reservation type thing that you mentioned earlier, you know, and it's a sad situation. And something, you know, something needs to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can envision at some point you're going to be dealing with some ghost town type of situation because you're going to build all these structures and stuff, and you're not going to have the people that's making the kind of money that these things call for. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, something's got to give on that.
You're overpriced and have the houses so priced that the individuals who need housing can't afford to buy them or to rent them or whatever, and et cetera. And so, okay, and finally, Mr. Zirker, we've got about a minute. Some final comments in reference to this.
Well, as a final comment,